Welcome to the apple edition. As you can see, it's that time of year when I've paid a visit to the local farm. So I started to think, what can I do with all these lovelies? So on this apple edition, I'm going to show you 2 breakfast items. I'm going to show you a lunch with apples and a dinner item with apples. So for now, for the breakfast, I'm going to show you one that's could be a dessert. It's apple cider donuts with maple glaze. That's going to be kind of the naughtier breakfast slash snack. And the other item is going to be something unusual. It's Asian scented chia pudding. It's star anise, however you pronounce it. But they're really pretty too. They look like little stars, and you want to try to find big chunks of them, because you're going to be picking them out. You're just going to scent the apples with it. So what I'm going to do, first thing you want to do is take 2 apples, and they don't have to be the same. I've just taken a nice red apple and a nice green apple. So 2 apples, and you want to just chop them bite-sized, because these are going to go in the parfait. That's what we're making first. So what you're going to do is make a simple syrup. Now this is going to be an Asian scenty, spicy simple syrup. Normally a simple syrup is just water and sugar. Now, you know, we try to go light around here. So I am just going to add 1 teaspoon of organic brown sugar, and I'm going to add a half a cup of water. And then what you're going to do is add the whole cinnamon stick. It can just be a small one's fine. And you're going to add a couple big chunks of the star anise. One tried to get away. And I've got those 2 chopped apples. So let's just go ahead and put it all in a little pan to where you get this kind of reduced down. What's going to happen is the apple is going to soften, and it's going to infuse with all of the spices from the star anise and from the cinnamon. So you want to just reduce this down. Really tender, and the whole house smelled wonderful. So what I'm going to do now is make the chia part. Now this is something that you're going to want to put in the fridge for overnight, or at least for a couple hours, because it does thicken up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1/4 of a cup of chia seeds. This is what makes it actually thicken up and gives it some omega-3s. Then I'm also going to take 1/4 of a cup of your favorite protein powder. I chose vanilla because it has a vanilla taste to it. And speaking of which, I'm also going to add about a half a teaspoon. And then you're going to put about, I'm just doing half the recipe, so normally you would put about 2 cups of almond milk. And then you're just going to stir it up, and then you'll want to just stir it up really well, and then you'll want to put it in the fridge. So I have one that's already made. If you see, it gets really thick. So I'm going to show you the wonderful little parfait, the layered parfait that I make. So the first thing, you want to just put a little the chia pudding in there, vanilla chia pudding. And then I'm going to layer it with some of those Asian scented apples. I think you get the idea. The naughty part of this breakfast is going to be apple cider donuts, healthy, with a side of maple glaze. And you don't have to make these into donuts, but certainly if you have the opportunity to buy these little forms, They really make them cute. And then they turn out very delightful like this. But if you don't have those kind of pans, you can turn these into muffins and they will taste just as good. So what we're doing is, first we're gonna make the donut part. 2 cups of whole wheat flour. I prefer organic. I just feel like wheat gets a bad rap with GMOs and things like that, so maybe this will help. We are going to put about a tablespoon of baking soda. We are going to put half teaspoon of salt. We are going to put, you can put any amount of cinnamon in. I happen to like a lot, so that's probably about a half teaspoon. We're going to put a half a cup of egg white. I don't cook with whole eggs. It's just a preference. But it usually seems to turn out just as nice. And for this, you can either use, I chose to use apple sauce, but you can also use a ground up apple. You could even put an apple in a blender. So I'm going to use 4 ounces of applesauce. You could even use both. If you wanted to be a little chunky, you could chop up an apple and put that in. And then, this is something I wanted to mention. I love Lakanto. This is maple syrup flavored with monk fruit. And I wanted to mention that they also have this in classic white sugar. And they have it in brown sugar. So give it a try. It tastes really good, but it kind of cuts down on the calories a little bit. So I'm going to use 1/4 of a cup of the maple syrup right in the donut mixture. And we're going to put more apple. We're going to put 1/4 of a cup of apple cider. I got this along with the apples from the local market. And this is going to be really, this is what makes it kind of moist. I'm putting 1/2 cup of plain non-fat yogurt. And a little bit of vanilla. Like maybe 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're going to just mix this up. And we're going to pour it into the sprayed baking, either the muffin tin if you don't have one of these donut ones, or we're going to pour these into the donuts. Now this is going to make about 2 of these, so about a dozen donuts or muffins. What you're going to do with the glaze is very simple but very delicious. So you want to just get powdered sugar. We're going to start off with about 1/8 of a cup. Then we're going to put just a little bit of vanilla. You want to just barely put it in there. And then same thing with maple syrup. I'm using that Lakanto again. So just a tiny little drop. You want to keep this a thick glaze. So that's why you want to just put very little. And the more you stir it, the more you'll see, oh my gosh, you know, it is already a glaze. You need very little liquid. And you can always add more, you just can't take it away. If it gets to be too runny, you'll just have to put more powdered sugar in. So, I have the glaze, so then what you're going to want to do is once your donut's done, you want to take it out of the pan, let it cool, and then you're going to just simply glaze the donut. And if you could smell, the whole house smelled like, it's a cross between a pancake and the best maple glazed donut you could find. So you'll really love the way your house smells, and I hope you love the way these taste. Today we are having curried chicken Waldorf salad. It takes full advantage of all these beautiful apples. And remember what I told you about trying to keep always keep ground chicken, chicken breast in the freezer. Well, that's what I have here. So normally your first step would be to just saute them up or throw some chicken breast in the oven. And then you just want to cut them into dices. So what we're going to do first, this is about 2 cups of chicken that's already cooked, chopped up, bite size, because this is going to go on a sandwich. And then, instead, normally this recipe calls for mayonnaise. Well, I don't do mayonnaise. It has egg in it. Egg yolk and me are not friends. But it also adds a lot of calories and fat. So what I recommend is that you use 1 cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Now for me, I didn't have any Greek, so this non-fat regular yogurt also works. And then what I added to this, why it's a little darker, you could add lemon juice, but I actually had, if you have any apple cider vinegar, I actually have, it's a balsamic vinegar and it has red apple. What a perfect pair. So that's what I put in to kind of flavor the yogurt. So that's going in with the chicken. And then your apples, you can't forget your apples. You want to put at least a cup. You could put more to taste, but a good cup. And it doesn't matter what kind. I actually tried to find an apple that wasn't too sweet because we're going to have other elements that are sweet. The next thing, I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of celery for some crunch and for some vitamins. Going to put about 1 cup of sliced up grapes. And then I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of walnuts. You could also use pecans. Now I'm also putting curry. Traditional Waldorf salad does not call for curry, but I love the curry taste with chicken. So I'm going to put about 1/2 tablespoon. I love that spice. And it smells, it gives it like almost like a smoky sweetness. It's just really hard to describe. Now, something else that's optional, I'm going to go ahead and put them in. You could also put in 2 tablespoons of raisins for a little bit more texture. And then you want to salt and pepper generously, especially with the pepper. Put lots of pepper in, and then you do want to put some salt in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up, and then I'm going to show you the plating. The finished sandwich. Now I just wanted to mention that I generally put them on 35 calorie bread. This Aunt Millie's is amazing. It tastes like just regular good old-fashioned bread, but only 35 calories. And then I put it in the toaster. You don't have to do that. You could even cut the crust off and turn it into like a little cute lunch pairing with. What a great snack to have with it. I've chosen some apples that aren't really super sweet. They're green apples. And I'm going to use just a touch. You could use the sugar-free, but it's only 10 calories less. I couldn't believe it when I saw that in the store. So what I'm going to do is just lightly drizzle just a little bit of caramel. What a perfect pairing for lunch. Welcome back. For dinner tonight we are having apple cider sloppy joes. So what you want to do is first brown your lean meats. Now in here I have 99% lean ground turkey, and then I also threw in 1 chopped up apple and 1 cup of onion diced up. So if you don't have a slow cooker where you can actually brown whatever it is you're putting in there, you could always do it on the stove top, or you could just throw it all into your slow cooker and it will get cooked, it just won't be brown. So I'm browning this up. This is ready to go. And then I'm also I always like to bulk up my meat with a little bit of mushrooms. It'll go further and add some nutrients. So to play off of that apple, I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, or you could use apple cider. The vinegar just adds a nice bite to it. I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. I never can say that. Worcestershire. And then I'm also going to put in about a generous tablespoon of mustard. That kind of gives it a nice tang. And then you want a can of tomato sauce. Now this isn't spaghetti sauce, it's just regular plain tomato sauce. And this is going to turn it into kind of a barbecue. And then I'm also putting in 2 garlic cloves. But I love the smoky taste of poblanos. Use whatever pepper you like. It's nice to add a little tang, a little heat from the pepper. Poblanos are like kind of a mild smoky. They add like this interesting taste that's like no other. So I'm going to put like a 1/3 cup. And then I'm just going to stir this up. And then when it gets almost done, I'm going to add some salt and pepper at the end. And then I will show you what it looks like plated. And I forgot to mention that typically the recipe that I provided with the apple cider sloppy joe, you want to put it on high for about 3 hours. And that turned out great. One thing too that I noticed, because this is my first time trying this variation of this recipe, it turned out great, but you could also use about half of the can of tomato sauce if you like it not as runny. But as you can see, it turned out really nice and the flavor is great. And those little bits of mushrooms, you can't even tell they're meaty. So it just kind of gave you, this is probably enough for 8 sandwiches. So there's that. And then I did want to mention also, in the past I shied away from using bread. I would just maybe put that on a plate. They also have sandwich thins. But I discovered this, if you have the Lewis brand buns, they make hot dog buns, they make regular buns. The whole bun is only 80 calories and it has lots of fiber, it has a lot of vitamins, iron. It's amazing if you can find it. So what I did was I just finished this off. It's a beautiful sandwich with a nice side salad, and just find yourself a really nice light dressing. This happens to be a light balsamic. And this is a great dinner. You could pair it with corn on the cob or canned corn. Just try to find something healthy, and this should fill you up for dinner. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Click the like button if you like it. Let me know some of your comments on recipe ideas that you'd like to see. And please have a safe week, and I'll see you next week.